Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm just going to do a quick video here, try to keep it under 10 minutes. I just wanted to do a kind of a quick discussion. One of the main questions that a lot of people that get into shooting ask me is, do I need iron sights or optics? Or do I need both? Do I need to spend a lot of money on optics? Can I go with the budget options? And so I just wanted to discuss all those different questions real quick. Try to keep it under 10 minutes and we'll just talk about that. So if it's your first rifle, straight away, I'm going to ask you, the first question I'm going to ask you is, how far do you plan on shooting it? So if you're only going to shoot the rifle less than 100 yards, I would say start out with iron sights. The majority of guns nowadays, rifles, if we're speaking semi-automatic rifles, like an AR-15 platform, most of those guns come with a iron sights already, so usually don't have to buy them. And if they didn't come with them, you can find iron sights for pretty cheap. I've seen it, $40-50 for some iron sights. Not bad. I would say learn on iron sights first, because iron sights are, in the long run, the most reliable type of optic, or it's not an optic, it's a type of, being able to see something that you're going to shoot. So I would say you need to master the iron sights before you master the optic, shooting with the optic. So, then a lot of people are like, do I need to go, spend $1,000 on a Trijicon ACOG? No, obviously you don't. You can get a Bushnell red dot for like $80. You can get other, good red dots for under $100 by companies that are really well known. And just trying to think of a couple off my head. I know Bushnell makes one for like $70. I think Nikon does, maybe. I've seen, I think Sig Sauer does their Romeo 5. That might be a little over $100. But the idea is you don't have to spend $1,000 on an optic, especially if your first rifle is just kind of like a budget AR, budget AK, or whatever it is. You don't spend, more money than the gun's actually worth. I see people buying, Smith & Wesson M&P 15, 15s, AR-15s, and then they go buy a $1,000 Trijicon and put it on there. And it's like the gun itself costs $600 and you just put a $1,000 scope on it. Doesn't really make any sense to me. And then a lot of times I see those same guys shooting, with that ACOG at like 50 yards. And I'm like, dude, you can use iron sights for that. Doesn't make any sense. So here's my kind of methodology, my kind of what I think about iron sights versus optics. If you shoot less than 50 yards, most of the time, iron sights are 100% good. If you shoot less than 100 yards, 50 to 100 yards, you can still use iron sights. I mean, you can still, like, for example, I don't like putting an optic on my AK-47 because I just like the iron sights better, and I can still reach out to 150. No, I don't think I could hit 200 yards with it, but iron sights are good for, up to 100, 150 yards. One of the reasons you might consider an optic, though, is because oftentimes you have faster sight acquisition, and what that means is, when you put the gun up to, when you look down the sights, it's easier to just look at a single red dot versus align the rear sight and the front sight. And a lot of times, those red dots and other crosshairs that they put in optics are a lot easier to see. They stand out more. So, basically what I'm saying is, if you don't shoot more than 150 yards, technically you don't really need an optic. But if you do get an optic, try to start out with like maybe a cheap red dot or even an ACOG. So me, all of my guns, 3 of my rifles that have iron sights and red dots or okay, 2 have red dots, 1 has an ACOG. And then on one of my AR-15s, I just have iron sights, AK-47 iron sights. So it's like half and half. Some of them, it depends on what I use them for. So like some of my pistol caliber carbines, I use them for like drills and doing run and gun, fast shooting. I put red dots on them because, you know, you're bringing the gun up really fast. You need a fast target acquisition. So I put red dots on those. But guns that I use just for kind of like, not running guns, just, you know, general shooting purposes, usually I just leave iron sights on them. Obviously, if we're talking 2, 3, 4, 500 yards, then we can start considering an ACOG, or we can put a scope on it. You know, if you're getting past 200 yards, I would definitely think about a scope, because unless you have amazing eyesight, it's really hard to see, you know, a target at 200 yards unless you have good eyesight. So that's when you can, after 200 yards is when you can start thinking about putting a scope on there. Another option you can do is you can put a scope on, you know, the top of your rifle, and on the side, like canted or tilted, you can put a red dot or angled iron sights. So you shoot the rifle like this, and then you turn it sideways, and you have a closer optic or iron sights. So when you're shooting stuff close up, you would turn your gun sideways, and then when you shoot longer distances, just have it right back up. That's what a lot of people do. But for me, I just have my regular red dot and then iron sights as my backup, because, you know, red dots can always fail because they're run off batteries. So I just have my iron sights and then the red dot, because most of my pistol caliber carbines and rifles, I rarely shoot them over 100 yards. So a simple red dot, you know, $70 red dot, $80 red dot is perfectly good for me. Now they do have other optics that are kind of like ACOGs that magnify a little bit. So generally a red dot does not magnify at all. So it's not like you're able to see farther looking through the red dot. That's one thing. Some ACOGs do magnify a little bit. And then if you need a lot of magnification, obviously your best choice is to go with a scope. So I hope what I'm saying is making sense. Basically, in summary, what I'm saying is 0 to 100 yards, you can use a red dot, or you can stay with iron sights. That's perfectly fine, either one of those choices. Just don't spend money you don't have. 100 yards to 150, maybe start thinking about like an ACOG or something. 200 plus, maybe start thinking about a scope or something like that. That's just the range I'm looking at. But the most important thing, guys, is try these out. Go to the store and see what you like. And don't spend too much money, because there's no point in spending all this money on a gun, and then more money on an optic and not having any money left over for training and ammunition. I would rather have a $600 AR-15 with thousands of rounds of ammo than having an AR-15 with a really nice optic that I only shoot once every 6 months. Doesn't make sense to me. The most important thing is you have a good rifle that works good and you train with it consistently. Training courses can get expensive, ammo can get expensive, so take that into consideration when you are buying your rifle and your optic, because don't just think, oh, once I buy my rifle and my optic, it's over. Dude, ammo is going to be expensive. If you sign up for a training course, sometimes those can be up to $1,000. If you want to get really good with your carbine, your rifle, which I recommend you do take training courses. They obviously have cheaper training courses, but the whole point is don't spend too much money, because you look at like some of these top military Army guys, SEALs, Marines. A lot of times they're using basic stuff. I was watching a video on one of the guys that was in Benghazi, Chris Peranto, I think his name is. Anyways, he was showing off his AR-15, and it was extremely, there wasn't anything crazy about it, you know, and he's a guy that knows what he's talking about. And a lot of these real operators, well, they are operators, but a lot of these guys, they know what they're talking about. And if you're a civilian like me, you don't need this crazy battle setup with all this stuff. And if real life Marines and SEALs and stuff are using simple setups, then why should you as a civilian use anything more? You know, you don't need to. If you have the money to throw away, by all means go ahead and invest thousands of dollars in your rifle. But if, you know, you're on a budget like 99% of us are, simple rifle, again, you can get a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 for like $600. AR 5.56, $600. You can get a DPMS Panther Oracle, $500. There's so many AR-15s that are so cheap now. You can get a decent entry-level AK-47 for like $600-700. And like again, I said, maybe just, you know, you can start off with a $100 optic. A $70 optic is fine. So just don't think you need to spend all this money. Save your money for ammo and training. Ammo and training is more important than having a cool optic to show off to people. So this is just my rant for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos.